I am from New Orleans, born and raised. I'm there all the time. I'm there pretty much every 3 months or so. I am there. Um, yes, and I came to New York City actually right after my father passed away in New Orleans. I actually started going to college in Vermont. And when I started to go to college in Vermont, my cousins brought me to New York City because I was doing poetry. And they were like, you should go to New York City because it's like a big art scene. So I came to New York. And once I got to New York, I got to meet the community at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe where I used to perform poetry. And then I started doing my plays at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe. Prior to that, I lived in a building on East 7th Street that we changed one of the apartments on the bottom. It was kind of like it was a squat, I must admit. And we changed one of the apartments in the bottom into a theater. That book, Black Jelly, is a collection of poems, and it's a collaboration with the photographer Nikki Johnson. And I had been doing poetry in part of that scene, and actually one of my mentors was Steve Cannon of A Gathering of the Tribes. He was a blind man that died probably, I think he died maybe last year. But Steve Cannon was really, really important to my progress as an artist. And for years, I was writing poems and performing poems. He was like, when are you going to publish this book? When are you going to publish this book? So I was like, I got to get this book out, because if I don't get this book out, I will feel some kind of way if it doesn't happen before Steve leaves this planet, for sure. So Nikki and I worked together on this book. It's called Black Jelly because it is about the kind of formlessness of being Black and being a woman, just kind of how you can create that shape yourself, because I find that Blackness is something that is it's bendable and it moves, and so is being a woman. Like, there's no real way to define what it means to so many people. I think it comes, I have to say, I feel like, because I'm starting to understand a little bit after doing so many plays. I'm starting to kind of figure out, well, what is it? Where is that coming from? I think it's just me, quite frankly, as a raw creative, trying to pull it all together, because I have been making plays pretty much on my own. Like, I was one of those people that pretty much in high school, when it was time for us to write a play, I think one of my teachers, I was acting up in class, and my teacher was like, you know what? She kept asking me all these questions about science. It was science class. I was not paying attention at all. And she said, you know what? You want to talk so much and you think you're so funny in my class. She said, why don't you write this play that we have for, something. It was some event that we were having in high school. I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll try it. So after that, this was my freshman year in high school. So after that, it was like we had a stage. It was the kind of school where we really didn't have a lot of things happening for us. So we had to make everything happen. So I think that's why I have a certain amount of freedom, because I was kind of just figuring it out on my own, I have to admit. And so any plays that we did, they were plays that I wrote in high school. They were plays that I wrote. They were plays that I cast. They were plays that I directed ever since I was young. So then once I got to New York City, it was kind of like living at that building, living at the House of Tribes. It was like, okay, we're going to start putting on plays. Are you ready for that? And I was like, okay, yeah, let me figure that out. And so I think it's really just that I have always had to figure it out on my own. And when I say that, I mean everything. So what it's done is it's kind of just built this sort of free, raw, creative person that's just working it out.